Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia. Welcome back to our subscriber game tournament season 2 as we continue with our round 3 time trial, here featuring Will Be Deed. Now looking at the army he brought, it's the same 3 generals as Beihai Butchers in Cao Cao, Lü Bu, and Zhang Jiao. The units are a little bit different. We have 6 of the really fast, really powerful double-sized Messenger of Heaven on Zhang Jiao, and 6 upgraded Xiliang Calves which are a bit slower on Lü Bu, and no units on Cao Cao. And that's fine. There's enough cavalry with strength to beat up my army, and the generals are really fast. So let's see how he does with this. Now looking at the deployment, he has spread out his units in a straight line. Given that Zhang Jiao doesn't have guerrilla deployment, the Messenger of Heaven are stuck here on the back where he had his original deployment box. The units are not spread out too far apart. In case I actually engage and fight him, I'm still off to the side here, and looking at the situation, we basically just grouped everyone and we're headed for the hills again, which is pretty much what I'm doing with every contestant. I'm spreading out as much as I can in case we get drag engaged by Lü Bu and it's all over for all our units. And we can just kind of look at the mini-map here to see how the early movements are. He's spreading out to look for me because he can't really see me from these ridges, and plus we also did the surprise attack, so I'm pretty much invisible for the most part until he runs into me. And I decide to split to maybe preserve 2 units who might still be invisible for the next 17 seconds. And everyone's just seeking at this point. I will pop back onto the map pretty soon as it expires in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, now I'm visible, and you can see the cavalry start closing in on this corner. I have a couple units off to this side, just hovering here at the tip of this little ridge, getting chased. Everyone has a target, and it's mainly about the generals and the units closing on my main groups here. I decided to split off my generals since they're the most valuable piece. It looks like I'm getting surrounded, so I decided to pull in different directions again to give them more targets to chase. But so far, Deed's micro's been pretty good. You can see the 1 unit on 1 unit on 1 unit type of coverage to make sure no one can get away. And the rest are just closing in on my generals as well. We decided to go for the opposite corner, as maybe we'll buy some time for these 2, but nope, there is someone pursuing them as well. So the bad news for me is the generals are coming at me, which I realize now. I couldn't see them for a while because they were also quite far. I decided maybe it was better if I try to use my abilities here to clear out these cavalry. But the bad thing about Messenger of Heaven is there's double unit size, so Flame of the Phoenix not really going to work, and they have way too much morale. So Roar of the Beast is also not going to work. I decided to use this as a charge target to give myself a little burst of speed. But here comes those 2 generals with their legendary horses, and the only thing I can really do at this point is send a couple of my cavalry to intercept their generals with the hopes of buying enough distraction from my generals to break through. But it's tough. Right, I'm trying to use my cavalry to run disruption as much as possible to see if I can get my generals out from the pursuit of Lü Bu and Cao Cao, who are really good at chasing generals. Everyone else is still engaged in a fight, and I just don't have the speed because Lü Bu and Cao Cao are just much faster than my generals. It's not even close. In the end, Sima Jiu and Zhou, who slipped out, Sima Wei, being the slowest of the 3, has been stalled here, being chased by the enemy generals. I think all 3 have targeted him, which makes it pretty impossible for him to run. The cavalry's, kept distance. As you can see, they finished up their fights because Messenger of Heaven's going to win those 1v1s. The only unit I have kind of hidden are off to the side here. But the main problem with those 2 being hidden is that too few units. That army loss will still get carried. I'm microing this general for the most part here, and you can see me giving command to Sima Jiu as well. I kind of ignored these 2. I probably could have ran them into the corner, but even in that case, they have the same speed with pursuit. I'm not sure if I'll get out. Mainly trying to get these out of the way, but struggling. because we're running into the cavalries who have finished up their earlier fights and now can sort of cover me as I'm running. And without Sima Wei's Nature's Ally, I'm not exactly fast. Sima Lun was able to activate another surprise attack, mainly for the 50% speed boost. Trying to roar against Messenger of Heaven really doesn't do us any good. And as you can see, pretty much every unit is being chased and having a terrible time trying to get my generals out. Even though we got that speed boost, the pursuit stayed, so never really lost vision of me until maybe this point where I got out. And that's the only breather we have here, as we're going to be invisible for another 10 seconds. Sima Zhong's probably dead with these two super fast generals chasing him. Cao Cao and Lu Bu together is really scary, because not only the horses are really fast, but Cao Cao also gives Nature's Ally, which makes Lu Bu just insanely fast. And there's no running away. These two cavalry, I think what I learned is that hiding two doesn't do us any good, because if the generals start dying, army loss does kick in with only two. And even if I was able to hide them, they would just rout away once two of my three generals died. Once the vision came back, the pursuit continues, and I'm slower than Messenger of Heaven. It's such of a abusive unit in this setup where they win 1v1 fights, can't really do anything about their morale, can't really kill them because there's 60 of them, and they're really, really fast at the same time, so I can't even outrun them. Sima Zhong is just dying over there. There's nothing to really see. I did try to use this rock to potentially mess up this unit, because there's so many of them that if I do a little loop, pathing wise, they might mess up, and I might be able to pull some distance to buy enough time to get another surprise attack off. And you can see, after I lost my generals, their morale is still holding up right now, but once this last unbreakable general start taking some damage, I was thinking if I don't move and let them chase the target they know, then after Sima Lun dies, it'll take them a while to go find these two. But sadly, as he dies, they are just gonna get army lost. Alright, so here's the rocks, and you can see I'm just gonna let him chase a little bit, and then turn around, and he's gonna have a hard time pathing back towards me, and I actually get to build some distance here. That's the only piece of terrain I'm able to find on this entire map to give me something. But that's pretty much it. As you can see, pathing here is giving them a little bit of trouble, but help is on the way, as they're here to close the gap on me. And it became pretty obvious that there's really nothing I can do here. Like, I'm extremely fatigued. They're not that fatigued, which is also bad news for me. And now it's just a matter of time until these two generals catches up to me. I'm actually wondering if I can pull off another surprise attack. We did one in the beginning of the match. That was pretty much 0 minutes, and then probably 3 minutes, 6 minutes. No, I don't think I'll survive long enough to get another one. They're still okay. I was still very optimistic at this point that I could drag this out a bit longer, but you can start seeing once I dip below about 20% health, they start wavering. And then I realized that's not going to be a trump card for me to buy more time. I was trying to play in this corner just to maximize that distance. But this is also a learning experience for me. We did get one surprise attack off, but you can see that little speed boost. Not going to be enough. 170, Lu Bu 162 plus the pursuit is going to definitely close that gap, as one of them needs to get a hit on me. We run, we run, we run. Lu Bu bumped us. Let's see if we can keep running. Who's going to get that finish blow? Cao Cao, maybe? Ah, Lu Bu got us. And that's it. Super, super fast. Very good microing. Every unit stayed one for one in the beginning. And then the surprise attack bought me a little bit of time early on. But the units didn't crowd around. They didn't overcommit to one side for the 3 units that was discovered. And in the end, 8 minutes 40 seconds as Will Be D takes the lead. And that also means Beihai Butcher is officially eliminated with his 15 plus result, and Vermilion Birds will become our cutoff point going forward with 1337. The roster of generals is one thing, and obviously looking at the microing, which is another big test of this round, having the same 3 general picked, similar units, but different way of microing the unit, drastic result difference. Because in our match against Beihai Butchers, same 3 generals, the initial discovery of those 4 cavalry, where all my other units were invisible, very similar to this case, where you saw the generals had to check for guerrilla deployment, which actually is Will Be Deed's, oversight, because if he checked out my army, as in if he tested my army out in custom battles, he would have known I don't actually have guerrilla deployment on any of these generals, so I cannot hide behind him for the beginning of the battle. So he didn't need to go backward, but even though he did, he kept his units pushing forward to close out my gap, and then he only sent 3 of his Messenger of Heaven to the 3 units that were discovered, didn't overcommit anyone in that direction. Everyone else was still pressing forward to try to find the rest of my unit, and in the end, once the general were discovered, the pursuit continued. Samawe was the first one to fall, as usual for all these matches, because he's just a slightly slower general compared to the other 2. And then it was just patiently chasing out my other 2 generals until it was over. So great matchup here, and definitely a great result from someone who made the top 4 in last season. And hopefully we will see others try to beat this in the coming matchup. So until then, bye!